Hello, I'm Congressman Randy Neugebauer. Thank you for being a part of the Empowerment Project today. The Empowerment Project is about talking about issues that impact this country and the future of this country, and basically talking about that this country was actually founded on principles of empowerment, but over the years somehow we've moved into the entitlement mode where we've made a lot of people more dependent on the government. And what we've seen is that's not a direction that we can continue to sustain. We're talking record deficits now, where we're talking in the neighborhood of doubling or tripling our national debt over the next 5 or 10 years. Just this week we went over $13 trillion in debt, and many people are concerned about that direction. In fact, we've seen some of the countries that have been on this spending and borrowing binge and with policies that entitle people, bringing those countries down. And so we're going to be talking about that. And we have a very special guest today, my good friend, Congressman Bob Goodlatte from the 6th District of Virginia. And Bob has introduced a very interesting piece of legislation that he's going to talk to us about today that maybe can help us do something about these record deficits. Bob, thanks for being here.
It's great to be with you, Randy.
Tell me a little bit about this House Resolution, Joint Resolution Number 1, the Balanced Budget Amendment. What does that do?
Well, as you can tell, I introduced it on the first day of this Congress, as I did the last Congress as well. It has close to 180 bipartisan co-sponsors. Thank you for your fiscal leadership on all of these spending issues and being one of those co-sponsors. It's vitally important. What this bill does is very simply, it requires the federal government to do what 49 out of our 50 states are required to do by their state constitutions, and that is to balance their budget each year. In this case, it would be an exception in times of war or national emergency. But you know, in the last 50 years, we've balanced the budget just 4 times. It should be the other way around. There might have been 4 years when there was an emergency. We didn't do it. But that $13 trillion national debt that you just referred to is what people are very aware of. That is driven each year by the deficits that run. The president sent a budget here earlier this year that proposes to spend $1.6 trillion more next year than we take in. So add another 1.6 to the 13 that's already there in just 1 year. And that's why we need a balanced budget amendment. Require the government to live within its means.
Yeah, and speaking of budget, as you know and I'm aware, the leadership currently, Nancy Pelosi, has not brought a budget amendment or budget resolution for this year.
Not any at all. Never mind a balanced one, which is what my constitutional amendment will require, but she hasn't brought us a budget at all. So just imagine how out of control the spending is when they won't even admit how large this deficit is. And this will be the first time since the Budget Act was adopted in 1974 that we have not had the House of Representatives pass a budget.
And I think the American people are a little concerned about that because, I mean, they're concerned about the spending, and obviously they read the newspapers and they look at what's going on in Greece and in some of these European countries that have been on spending binges and have not really addressed their budgets. And I think they look at the U.S. and say, if we continue down this road, will we be, next?
Well, that's absolutely right. And the fact of the matter is that families have to live within budgets. Businesses, large and small, has to live within budgets. Local governments, state governments, they all know what it's like to have to tighten your belt and live within your means. And somehow people here in Washington think the federal government can be exempt from that. It can't be exempt from that. We have got to have that same discipline applied at the federal level. So thank you for your strong support of the constitutional amendment to balance the budget.
Well, thank you, Bob, and thank you for introducing that because you make a great point. Is American families have to live within their means. Companies have to. Any company that starts spending more than it's bringing in goes bankrupt. And one of the things that we don't want to do to this country is bankrupt this country. Bob, thank you for being on the program. It's great to have you, and thanks also for your leadership with this Joint Resolution Number 1, Balancing the Federal Budget, a novel idea. Thank you to my special guest, Bob Goodlatte, and you've been a part of the Empowerment Project. If you'd like to know more about what's going on at the Empowerment Project, you can go to my website at randy.house.gov as we continue to discuss and bring special guests to talk about how we empower America and move America away from more dependency on the federal government. Thank you.